Hi there, this is Vespasian, and today I'm bringing you the Soviet Infantry Red Army troops from Warlord Games. These figures are for bolt action, obviously, and I'm going to open the box up and we're going to have a look inside them. The box contains 40 Russian infantry, plus everything you need to play with. Thank you, my trusty sidekick. And here we go. We have weapon sprues. I believe there are 2 or 3 of them. 3 of them, that was it. 3 weapon sprues, and then the infantry sprues and the bases. There are all the infantry sprues and the bases. One good thing about this is it has bases for prone Russians, which is a relatively new thing because you used to have to make your own. Here are the infantry. Every sprue has one guy laying down, a couple of guys kneeling, and the rest sort of standing around or running, which is quite nice, and it gives you a nice variety to put together. The helmets and heads included include 2 Russian hats there, which is just there, and it also includes 1 officer's hat, 2 normal hats, side caps, and all the rest are normal helmets but with different facial expressions. There's a guy screaming, there's a guy... Better?
Yeah,
right.
Now I can see everybody else's.
There's a guy screaming, there's a guy who's constipated, and there's a guy who has just realised he's lost a tooth. I believe there's a guy just there who's just read The Economist. Let's have a look. No one with glasses. No one with glasses on this one. So they're all actually just normal faces. That's very nice. That's a shame, that. I like guys with glasses. No weapons on the actual main sprues. The weapons are on this sprue over here. These are the infantry, of standard infantry, early war. They have a bedroll on. And nice boots. A few guys are in puttees as well. So it's a nice mixture, showing a mix of uniform. The uniform was actually very much similar to the Tsarist uniform. This was an idea of Joseph Stalin to make people more patriotic. He redesigned the army uniform, or he got someone to redesign the army uniform. This coincided with the Germans hiring a famous fashion designer to design all their clothes, which is why the Germans look so smart. And he went back to the old ways of doing things and kitted out his troops in the Tsarist style kit. I do think it looks rather good. It's a nice kit. I always like Russians. They've always been fun to paint because they're just in that lovely yellowy brown khaki colour. And I just like the uniform. They just look good. On to the weapons. The weapons sprue contains a Panzerfaust, which I believe the Russians... What do the Russians call it? There's an inlay card here. Hang on, let's have a look. I'll look it up. No, still looking. Still looking. No, it is a Panzerfaust, right. The Russians did actually design their own version of the Panzerfaust, which was called the RPG-2. But this one is actually a German Panzerfaust, so there you go, they cheated. Although the Russians did capture massive amounts of Panzerfausts on the Eastern Front, and so it's not unusual for Russians to be equipped with them. Weapon-wise, there are SMGs who've got a few PPSH SMGs, which was a standard Russian submachine gun, relatively lightweight submachine gun, and then there's a Thompson or 2, I think. There's 1 Thompson, which was given to them by the Americans, and a couple of late war Russian Kalashnikovs. So they're quite cute. On this side we have some Mosin Nagants, which is my all-time favourite Russian rifle, and then we've got some normal long barrel Mosin Nagants, possibly? Let's check. Yes, it's a Mosin Nagant M91, which is very nice. We also have a machine gun, a light machine gun, DT light machine gun, which is just there. It has bipod mount for the machine gun, and there's also an anti-tank rifle which has another type of bipod mount for it as well, which was very useful. I found the anti-tank rifle to be very useful as well because I kitted out my Japanese and Chinese troops with the anti-tank rifle because it's a pretty generic anti-tank rifle. And the Russians didn't deploy all that many, so it meant I had spare anti-tank rifles to go around. There's also a collection of pistols as well, just along there, and some binoculars, which is pretty standard for Warlord games. They always like to...
Have you got any M1 Grands?
Garlands? Not that I know of. I'm not actually sure if the Americans even gave garlands to the Russians.
Is that Thompson?
Yes, that's a Thompson. Yeah, that's about it. It is quite an interesting box. It has everything in it, obviously, that you need for your Russians. One downside to the Russian army in bolt action is it doesn't really have the special rules which apply to each army don't really take into account the sheer awfulness of Russian command and control. And so in our games we intend to add a little bit of fun into the game. But that's nothing to do with unboxing the figures, it's just a comment on my own. Overall, a brilliant little kit. The laying down bases are awesome. I can't fault them for that at all. Very handy having laying down bases, and all the other bases are the standard bases you get. You also get a nice little card to show you what they're supposed to look like when they're put together. Although I've never actually made any of them in any of those poses, but you know, that sort of thing happens. Oh, last but not least, the burning bottle, which is quite an interesting addition. Again, I have added those...
Molotov cocktail?
A Molotov cocktail. They have added those. I have added those to my Chinese army, and they came in quite handy. Yes, can you see them all right?
Yep, now they come.
Yeah, and on the model, it is... Is it on here? I can't remember where it is. No, that's a hand grenade. That's that might be an anti-tank grenade actually. Let's have a look. Molotov.
You find something new every day.
Molotov cocktail.
Yay!
Yes. Like the Americans, I've never had any British from Warlord, so I don't know what the British are like. But like the Americans, all the hands are open-handed, so you can put any weapon in their hands you want, although a few are specific to certain weapons. So that is actually quite useful, whereas the Japanese have the downside that every single weapon is actually in their hands, and you don't really get much choice. You don't get much variety with that because everyone's carrying a rifle. So you only get a few spare hands to add machine guns and things like that to. And there ends the video. I hope it's been an interesting video for you, and I hope I've covered everything that is in the box. It is, as I said, quite nice. Everything's more or less quite nice. I'd never really have much bad to say about anyone, really. I do like the inclusion of laying down bases. I just think that's just such an awesome thing, because I spend so much time cutting bases out for figures that I now no longer need to. It would have been nice to include a few large round bases, so you could do two guys together on a base, but I don't do that anyway. I know other people who do, and they would like that, but that to me it doesn't make any difference, because I always base all figures individually. That way you can take note of casualties a lot easier. And as I said before, we have come to the end of the video. Thank you. Any questions?
Yeah.
What?
I mean no.
No.
It takes a while for my brain to say things.
I will also mention that the uniform was pretty much the same throughout the war, so you can use these throughout the war, right up until the end of the war. Not much use in winter, although the Russians were very badly supplied during the winter, contrary to popular belief. In actual fact, the Russians were very badly supplied with winter clothing. So you could always use these for the first winter battles, because it kind of took the Russians by surprise, and their logistics was pretty much messed up, what with the whole invasion of Russia and all that. which is understandable. And so you can use these guys during the winter campaigns, just like you could do with the winter soldiers that you can get. Of the winter box, which I'm not going to be getting at the moment because I'm not doing winter, I'm doing summer campaigns, they are a lot more useful, but you can still use these figures with them anyway. Especially the quilted jacket guys, they can pass for the quilted winter jacket as well, so that's pretty generic, really. Which is the good thing about Russians, they are always pretty generic. And that is definitely the end of the video now. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope I've given you a few ideas if you're planning on doing Russians. And I hope you subscribe, leave any messages you like, and do the other thing you do. What's that?
Like.
Like! Oh yeah, you gotta like it as well. If you like it. I mean, obviously if you didn't like it, then you don't have to. But if you did like it, then you can click like. And that'd be nice, because I'd feel happy.
Leave a comment down below to say if I am allowed these figures.
Yeah, no, you're not allowed these figures. These are Russian.
You don't have the choice.
No, these are Russian. No,
they're mine.
No. Why do you always Bagsy everything I get?
Oh, I say, yeah, Bagsy.
Yeah.
Bagsy mine.
Right, fine, whatever. And so, we come to the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching. This has been Vespasian. Good day.
Bye.